Welcome back to the official Cubase YouTube channel. My name is Stephen Bedall, and this is part 4 of the Synthwave series where we are writing, mixing, and mastering a track from scratch. In the last 3 videos of this series, you've seen me put all the ideas down, and we've got ourselves a great sounding Synthwave track. And as you've seen thus far, I've done a little bit of processing here and there, and that's usually how things go when I write Synthwave music. I like to do a bit of mixing as I put the ideas down. But we do need a proper mixing and mastering overview of this session, and that's what this video is all about. We're going to put the final touches on our track before we send it out into the world, and I'm going to make sure that everything sounds amazing. We want our drums to sound punchy, we want our synths to sound edgy and powerful, and most importantly, we want the elements to feel balanced and clear. And I may or may not put down a few last-minute ideas as well. So thanks for being here. Let's get right into it. So I've got one last final idea I want to add to this track before we start mixing it. And I was thinking what might be cool is to add some kind of vocal texture, specifically this sample right here.
Till you say you love me 21 nights.
Just the first part of it sounds kind of cool. I think I could do something with it. Let's pull it into the session, and I'll throw this into the textures group. So clearly this isn't going to work with our key.
Till you say you love me 21 nights.
So I'm just going to get rid of the last bit of this sample. I'm also going to time stretch it ever so slightly. So first thing I'll try is just transposing this up by 2 steps.
Till you say you love me.
Okay, that works. Let's double click this, open up the editor, and I've got my Vary audio activated here. I'm just going to select all my notes and correct the pitch a bit. I'm also going to straighten out the vibrato.
Till you say you love me.
And I think I'm going to change this last word here, me. Let's try bringing it up.
Me. Till you say you love me.
Okay, that sounds kind of cool. And maybe we'll throw some vocal chain on this sample. Let's activate the verb. We'll try Cathedral Dark. Okay, pushing up the time quite a bit. Also the send.
Till you say you love me.
And let's activate this filter bank. You can hear how the reverb really affects the sibilance from the word say.
Till you say you love me.
We could draw that back a little so it doesn't sound so intense.
Till you say you love me.
Let's try maybe adding some delay to this as well. Let's try the ping pong delay. Bring the feedback right down to about 10% and mix at about 20%.
Till you say you love me. Till you say you love me. Till you say you love me.
Okay, how does this vocal sound in context? Just some really subtle vocal textures in the intro, adds some cool vibe to it. I like it. So I'm gonna add this vocal to our breakdown and our outro as well. One thing that just came to mind here is that I might wanna start the track off with a cymbal swell, but the track starts on bar 1. If you ever have a situation like this where your project starts at bar 1, but you wanna add something that comes in right before, all you gotta do is come to project setup, and make the adjustment with the display bar offset. So in this case, we can just add 1, press OK, and it'll ask us if we want to keep the project content at its bar positions. We'll say yes. And now we've added a bar of space before bar 1. So let's copy this swell crash over here. And now we got this cymbal swell to lead us into the start of the track. So I'm gonna start this mix session by taking a look at our drums group. Everything's sounding pretty good so far. The drums feel pretty balanced overall, definitely doesn't need like a lot of processing. I think what I'm going to do is add a vintage compressor to the drums group. This will glue it together, make it sound a bit punchier. I'm going to use a slow attack and a fast release. We'll use a ratio of 4:1. We'll do about 4 decibels of gain reduction, and we'll use this compressor in parallel at about 75%. And I'm also going to boost the snap on this snare drum here, pulling up the EQ. So just adding a bit of air to it. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. And just finding the right balance between the drums and bass. And let's switch our attention over to the bass. I'm thinking maybe we add a bit of distortion to this visceral patch. So just introducing the slightest bit of grit. Got the mix at 20%. slightly more edgy. I like it. Something else that I want to do here is take a look at some of the synth energy in this mix. If we solo our ARPs group here and we pull up the EQ on this group, you can see that there's some low information that we just don't need. So let's throw a high pass filter on this group. We'll use high pass 1 here. You won't hear a massive difference there. There's not a lot of synth information in the lows, but what we're doing is just trying to carve out as much space for the bass to speak through this mix. Now, before I take a look at some of the processing on the stereo out channel, I actually do want to make one little fix here on the drums group and fade out the kick drum throughout this outro. So let's just pull up the automation and draw in a volume fade. And let's make sure that sounds cool. Okay, I like it. Now, if you remember, we had this black valve compressor on our stereo out channel the whole time. And I'm not driving this compressor too hard. I'm also using it in parallel, about 50%. I did turn the drive up on the tube saturation a little, and it's sounding pretty gritty. The black valve compressor is really powerful. It doesn't take much to overdo it. You do have to be kind of careful with it. The amount that I've got it at right now, it feels pretty good. It's just gluing the track together, but things don't sound over compressed. So I'm feeling good about the bus compression. Maybe we can add a bit of stereo imaging to give things a bit of a wider feel. I'm going to increase the width here of band 2 to about 140%, and band 3 here about the same thing. Let's see how that sounds. Let me A/B this for you. So before and with. Really nice. I like that. Okay, also got my limiter on the stereo out here. Got a few decibels of gain reduction. And we got this track up to a competitive volume. And one other thing that I'm noticing here is this vintage glide lead. Could use a bit of EQ as well. I'm just going to cut the lows out of that and boost some of the highs. Just get aggressive with this EQ. Okay, so I think this mix is pretty much good to go. Overall, one thing you might notice is that the transitions are pretty loud in the mix, and that's how I like it. Sometimes I'll hear synthwave tracks where those transition effects are very subdued, and it's really just a stylistic preference. I think they sound good. They add a lot of excitement to the track. I think the drums group is overall a little bit quieter than it has been throughout the series, but just boosting the air on the snare has it feeling really impactful, and I've also pushed these drum fills up in the mix a bit too. So really not a lot of processing overall in this mix. And as you probably remember, some of the important aspects of the processing we added much earlier in this series, like for example, the ARPs being sidechained to the kick. So there's a bit of bounce going on there. Probably could have gone further with the sidechaining if we wanted to. For example, we could have sidechained the textures group to the kick. But I feel like it's really easy to go overboard with the processing. It's really easy to kind of over sidechain things, over compress things, add too much reverb. I like to keep things simple, bare minimum. So I'm feeling good about this mix. Let's give it one last listen through. I'm excited about this track. This has been a lot of fun for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. All right, that's gonna do it for this video and for this series. I can't tell you how much fun it's been to show you how I create synthwave music and to showcase some of the amazing virtual instruments and features that Cubase has to offer. And I really hope that this series has inspired you to write some synthwave music yourself. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure to be back here on the official Cubase YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that like button for me and share your thoughts in the comments below. And also check out some of the other videos on this channel. There's so much great content to dig through. My name is Stephen Bedall. Thanks for being here, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.